In today's show, Damian Lillard just keeps getting better. No matter where you set the bar, this dude is leaping over it and probably then stepping back over it and hitting a three in your face. Welcome to Locked On Blazers. Let's get into it.
You are Locked On Trailblazers, your daily Portland Trailblazers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What up, world? It's your past first point guard and Trailblazers reporter, Mike Richmond. You're listening to another episode of Locked On Blazers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, available wherever you get podcasts and also on YouTube. Thanks for making the show your first listen. Free on all platforms, 5 days a week, coming at you every single weekday, Monday through Friday. Make it your first listen. Tell your friends to do the same. It's Locked On Blazers, your team every day. Damian Lillard scored 71 points. That's what we're going to talk about today. Sometimes it's that easy. Dame scored 71, 41 in the first half, a 30-piece after halftime. He's as good as he's ever been. He's probably the best point guard in the NBA this season, depending on what position you think Luka Doncic plays. He's been incredible. So let's talk about him. I'll give you the roadmap, but today's episode is going to be about Damian Lillard for about a half hour. We'll do fastest recap in the West. They beat the Houston Rockets because he had 71 and nobody could handle him. I want to talk just kind of about Dame backing up what he's been telling his teammates, absolutely backing it up in a moment, several moments, but in a performance for the ages on Sunday evening. And then we'll close the show with a little Blazers and Damian Lillard moment of joy, a reminder of how fun this dude can be. So let's do what we do. Fast recap in the West. Blazers win 131-114. They scored 115 points, so they won. 150 points has not held up recently. We're going to have to change that number. They were up 32-31 after one, and Dame let you know he was coming early. He scored 13 of the Blazers' first 18 points, finished with 16 in the first quarter. But Dame has had quarters like this, right? He's had halves like this. He's averaging 31 a game. It's like, yeah, this dude might, he has big games. I'm not surprised he's going to have another one. And then he had 25 in the second quarter, and the Blazers take a 73-58 lead into the break. He scored 13 points in the final 2.5 minutes of the first half. It's like, he hit it in the first, to close the half, he hit a pull-up three. He was feeling himself, hit a pull-up three. Feet on the logo, 36 feet is what the broadcast called it. A reminder of how far away that shot against OKC was. But basically, a couple steps in from half court, and he's firing up with his feet on the pinwheel. The Blazers don't have an egregiously large, mid-court logo, but nuts. He splits a double team and scores at the buzzer to give him 41 at the break. He just turned it on. 41. The most points scored in a half in Blazers franchise history. Damian Lillard breaks his own mark of 36 he had previously set for points in a half. 41, right? 41 at the break. Are you freaking kidding me? Blazers up 15, 73-58 at the break. The lead stretches to 23 in the third quarter, and they go, but the bench kind of struggled a little bit at the end. They close the quarters. They go into the fourth quarter up 102-88. Dame only had 9 in the third quarter, and for the first time all night, the Rockets are sending two guys at him, finally. Hard hedging hard hedging and straight up doubling and trapping him. Blazers are getting pretty clean looks out of the double teams. For my money, I'm going to make Cam Reddish beat me. That was not Steven Silas' money. That was not what he was going for, the coach of the Rockets. But for my money, I'm just... Let's see how many wide open threes Matisse Thybulle can hit, because we know how many that guy can hit. Whatever. I guess pick your poison. I will say to the Rockets' credit, they were down 20-something with Dame in the game, and then he left, and they were up about up 15 and ended up going up 16 and ended up going in up 14. So while the bench kind of gave it away a little bit, it was like that first sub where the lead, they really started to tick away the lead. And entering the fourth quarter, only down 14, and the Rockets stay in this game. And I was thinking the same thing Lamar Hurd mentioned on the broadcast. It's like, tight. Tight, because that means Dame, who at this time has 50 at the end of 3 quarters, is going to go score more points, and they're going to need him to. Like, they're going to need him to score, because when he checks back in with just under 10 minutes to go, it's an 8-point game. Dame comes in and it's like, hey, dude, we need you. You scored 50 points in 3 quarters, and we're kind of in trouble against one of the worst teams in the league, the Rockets, losers of 8 straight. They've lost 28 of 32. They've lost 47 of 60 after this game, but they'd lost now 9 straight after this game. But coming in, like, losers of 8 in a row and 28 of 32, like, it's one of the truly, truly dysfunctional teams, bad teams missing, their starting 2 guards to begin the season in Jalen Green and Kevin Porter Jr. And the Blazers find themselves only up 8 with 10 minutes left. Let me take you a pause here for a moment. There are some nights when I record this podcast when the Blazers would be playing one of the worst teams in the NBA, and they'd let a 23-point lead dwindle down to 8 points, and I'd have to come into this podcast studio and tell you, like, this time of year, you got to throw out the style points, because what matters is that they get the win and they march forward. Didn't have to do that today, because Damian Lillard scored 21 points in the final 10 minutes. He finished the game. Blazers win 131-114. That's your fastest recap in the West. He finished the game with 71 points, 22 of 38 from the floor, 13 of 22 from 3, a perfect 14 of 14 from the free throw line. It's 6 assists to lead the Blazers in assists and 2 turnovers. Nuts. He did dunk late in the game where he crammed all over Jabari Smith Jr. and got the foul. He was tired at the end of the game. Like, clearly he was gassed from all the energy put in, and he still, he finished with 13 threes, which is a franchise record, and ties Zach LaVine for the second most threes ever made in a game. Klay Thompson still holds the record of 14. Dame could have chased it, and he was kind of chasing it at the end, but he was clearly exhausted, clearly gassed. In fact, he checked out with 44 seconds left, and the crowd gave him a big-ass ovation. Sorry for cussing. Damian Lillard made me swear on the podcast. I apologize. They went nuts for him because he deserved it, because he'd been that special. He has 71. The Blazers' next high score, 13 for Jeremy Grant. Damian Lillard took 38 shots. No one else in the Blazers took more than Jeremy Grant's 10. It was his night. Nazir Little had quietly another excellent game off the bench. I thought I was going to talk a little about Nazir in this one. He had 11, made all the shots. He's really becoming a good shooter. If he can put it together on defense and tighten up his handle, he's an excellent NBA player. But he can shoot it. I guess the Rockets were in it in part because Jayshawn Tate and Alperen Sengun were pretty darn good. I thought Tari Eason and Daishawn Nix gave him good minutes off the bench. Tate 17, Sengun 17, 10, and 5 dimes, 15 for Eason off the bench, 16 for Daishawn Nix, 14 for Kenyon Martin Jr., your boy KJ, who had a huge dunk on Drew Eubanks. Drew Eubanks was kind of getting into it. I thought Drew Eubanks was maybe going to get ejected for a foul he had on Alperen Sengun, but he got a flagrant foul. Just one. That's all we're going to talk about people not named Dame in this game. This puts him in rare territory. Like I said to open the show, I think this is your first team All-NBA point guard. I think he's been that good. I think this is the best point guard in the league this year. I think the scoring title is within reach because of how good he's going to have to be. And more importantly, according to reporters who were at practice on Saturday, Damian Lillard, I read this Jason Quick story in The Athletic. I'll cite him specifically. Damian Lillard told his teammates, now is the time. That's what we saw on Sunday night. That is what we saw. Damian Lillard backed up that talk. Let's talk about backing it up, what that means for Dame in the second segment. But first, let me tell you about PrizePicks. It's daily fantasy made easy. How PrizePicks works. So you pick between 2 and 6 players on your ballot, and then the statistical lines set by PrizePicks are set by PrizePicks, and you go over or under those lines. You can play a whole bunch of variety of sports. I play the NBA, so it's things like points, rebounds, assists, and blocks. You get Damian Lillard over 31 and a half, and you can pick over or under 31 and a half points. I'm going over, baby. He's about to light up the Rockets. You would have won some money. You pick between 2 and 6 players on your entry. You can make it in about 60 seconds, and when you win, you can get your money quickly with safe and fast withdrawals. And right now, first-time users can sign up for PrizePicks with the promo code LOCKEDON and get a 100% deposit match up to $100. So go to prizepicks.com or download the app, and when you're doing so, make sure you put in the promo code LOCKEDON so you get that 100% deposit match. So you put in $100, get $100, put in $50, get $50. It's as simple as that. Don't wait. Go take advantage today. That's PrizePicks, daily fantasy made easy. All right. Damian Lillard's on a short list. Whenever you're on a list with not too many other names and Wilt Chamberlain, whenever you're on a list with Wilt Chamberlain, it's probably had a pretty monster night, monster season, monster career. There are 3 people in the league who have scored more points than Damian Lillard did tonight against the Houston Rockets. David Thompson had 73. Kobe Bryant had 81, and Wilt Chamberlain had more than 71 on 5 separate occasions because the dude was nuts. Other players have touched 71. Donovan Mitchell had 71 in an overtime game in January of this year, January 2nd. David Robinson, famously in the last game of the season when he needed to win the scoring title, scored 71 back in 1994. There's been, there are folks, 8 in league history, who've scored 70 plus in a game. It is rare air. Damian Lillard now is 1 game back of Kobe, who's 6 all time, for most 60-point games and second most 60-point games in league history. Wilt Chamberlain has 32. You're not catching Wilt. The non-Wilt numbers. Dame's putting up historic type numbers. Like I said, 41 in the first half was a franchise record. He had 30 in the second half. He's nuts. He's nuts. And this is what, when Damian Lillard sat out the opening game of the All-Star break, mentioned here in the podcast, this is a daily podcast, we do it every day. Mentioned here in the podcast that the generous read is that for safety reasons, they held him out of the game because of the short travel and the quick and the sort of fiasco in getting there, and he's a big mileage guy, and you just he's playing a ton of minutes, and there's just like a safety threshold. They said we can't have Dame out there for 36 minutes. He's 32 years old. We got to win the games down the line. But I also mentioned that same podcast that it has the hint of like maybe the Blazers don't care too much about winning, or they're comfortable if they don't win. Not that they're like tanking, but comfortable if they don't win because they're further enough along and they're below 500 and all these things, right? So at practice on Saturday, Damian Lillard had to address the did you sit out on purpose? And Dame said, no, it's the decision of the medical staff. It pretty much always is. There's like one dude in the league who chooses to sit out on his own. His name's Kawhi Leonard. He plays for the Clippers. He has a very conservative approach to his personal health. Pretty much every other time you see a player sit out is because the training staff made him sit. That's just truth across the league, and Dame had to address that. And then he had to specifically address the idea that the Blazers are not tanking, which is like, if you listen to this podcast, this is just like weird nonsense. Of course they're not tanking. They're like maybe okay with not making the playoffs or whatever, but like they're not intentionally going to lose. They're not going to sit Dame out for the last 20 games. It's just not what they're going to do. He's not wired that way. He's been very clear about it. When he's asked on Saturday, he said he's very clear about it, and he went a step further. In a story in The Athletic, Jason Quick detailed the message that Damian Lillard sent to his teammates. He pulled them aside one by one, slowly at practice, and said, this is it. Here we go. Now is the time to ride. Like we've got 23 games remaining. We have a playoff seed in our sights. We can make this happen. Now's the time. Lock in mentally, lock in physically. Come on. Every single game from here on out is our chance to get where we want to go. We haven't been there yet, But the opportunity is there, and now's the time. That was the message Damian Lillard delivered to his teammates on Saturday. That message rings hollow if you don't bring it. So Damian Lillard scored 13 of his team's first 18 points. He said, I'm going to bring it. I'm going to set the tone. Then he scored 25 in the second quarter, including 13 in the final 2.5 minutes. He said, no, seriously, I'm going to bring it. Y'all come with me. Then he scored 21 in the final 10 minutes to make sure the Blazers didn't blow a game to the Houston Rockets, which was an 8-point game when he checked in, and that they cruised to a victory over a bad basketball team, and he seized it. He had the most efficient 70-point game in NBA history when you factor in true shooting percentage, which accounts for the value of three-pointers as well as the value of free throws. When you go 13 of 22 from 3 and 14 of 14 of free throw line, you had a very efficient night. When you shoot 58% from the field on 71% shooting while splashing 13 threes, yeah, this is the most efficient 70-point game in the history of the sport. That's what it looks like to lead. Leadership and the Dame leadership stuff to me has taken on, this is like a whole world of its own. It's like that Dame can take bad players and make them good with his magic. He is a dude who rides for his guys. If you're on the team, he's going to ride with you. He's going to say, okay, you got the jersey on. It says Portland across your chest, says Blazers across your chest. I'm ready. You're part of the plan. Let's come on and ride. And he'll pump you up and keep you going and make sure you're ready to, you're on board with the program, you're focused and all those things, right? He'll gas you up when you need to be gassed up if you're wearing the same costume as he is. But leadership is not the words you say on Saturday. Leadership is saying those words on Saturday and then on Sunday coming and saying, listen, I'm going to give it all that I have. Every bit of it. I am going to unload all of it because I'm not going to leave. Dame is part of the front office would be an overstatement. He is very much involved in the personnel decision making that this team will do in the next little bit, which means he knows the plan, which means that when he spoke on Chris Haynes and Mark Stein's podcast and he said, I understand what the team wants to do, he kind of knows that the front office has a vision of getting draft picks and making big trades and moving stuff. But Dame is deeply competitive. He doesn't want to finish 11th and sweeten a draft pick for Joe Cronin, even if they've discussed that exact scenario and why, if it does happen to end that way, it's totally cool. Leadership is not understanding the plan of your bosses or whatever. Leadership is not saying the right things to your teammates at practice. Leadership is all of those things wrapped into one. You don't need to score 71 to be the guy who leads the way. But if you're going to tell everyone now's the time, the performance that convinces them that you mean it is the performance that leaves all doubt, removes all doubt that you are bringing it because now is the time. And it's the performance that for a guy who knows maybe what the bigger picture plan is for the Blazers says, I don't care about the bigger picture. I care about winning basketball games. And if we have a chance, I'm going to make sure we have a chance. Playing a game like this and sort of the manner in which he played, scoring early, the monster first half, it is a tone setter to the highest degree, the loudest of the loud. It is Damian Lillard saying, I know that other folks around the world, and maybe including some podcasters, think that maybe the Blazers would be better off missing the playoffs. I do not. And they might. Like, the Rockets are bad. Dame's not going to score 71 each night. Like, even if you just give him the same looks he had against the Rockets, he had some tough ones, but also, like, Houston didn't double team him until that third quarter. Then they went away from double teaming and he came back and killed him again. Their defense is just horrific. They screwed up some double teams. They screwed up some weird switches. Alperen Şengün was too far back on threes in the third quarter when Dame had already scored at that point 45 points. It's like, you got to be above the 3-point line. What are you doing, dog? He shoots from 35. Did you not see the scouting report or the other 7 3-pointers he's already made? They were just, the Rockets are not good. But not good is like Dame has 45 and 10. Right? Like, this is another level. He had 41 in the first half. He had some folks' best game they'll ever play in the opening half. He played 40 minutes, 39 minutes in this game, right? And he was tired at the end of it. But this wasn't an overtime game. This wasn't a game this was just a night where he went nuts early and then made sure to slam the door shut late, because that is what, if there is a magic of Damian Lillard's leadership, it's that he's the best player on the court, and that is the inspiration he can give you. The time is now. I'm going to show you. It's much louder than telling you, but just so you know, I already told you. And here you go. Watch the proof. And when the game ended, his teammates knew the proof was real. They were throwing water on him in the post game. They usually huddle at midcourt, and in the post game huddle, they were dousing him with water. You'll remember when he had 60 earlier this year, he refused to let them throw water on him. No. Like, don't do it. This time they didn't wait. They celebrated. They had fun. They enjoyed it. They appreciated it, which is what I want to do to close the show. I want to share a really wonderful moment of joy. A listener sent me a note prior to this game about potentially bailing on the season. Guess what happened next? That's what we'll do to close the show. But first, Built Bar, best tasting protein bar that there is. Go get yourself some. They're available at Walmart and Sam's Club. You can go buy a 4-pack and kind of figure out what you want. Then you can go back and buy a 13-pack, the big box, once you know what you like. You'll like them because they got 130 calories, 17 grams of protein, and 4 net carbs. They're packing a punch. They taste great, covered in 100% chocolate. My personal favorites, peanut butter, brownie, cookies, and cream. And now, like I said, available in brick and mortar stores across the country, or still available online at built.com, and use the promo code LOCKED15. So however you get them, make sure you do, and find out if I've been telling you the truth all these years. That's built.com. Still a pass first point guard. I'm still Mike Richmond, and you are still listening to Locked On Blazers. I got an email from a listener with the name Michaels, powerful name. Michael sent me an email on Saturday or Friday evening, whenever it was. And Michael said, this is a real email, by the way. I know I'm using my own name, but this is a real thing that happened. I promise. Listener Michael sends me an email and says, it's like, I just watched a game where it's Ryan Arcidiacono and Drew Eubanks and Nazir Little, Cam Reddish, and Matisse Thybulle in the starting lineup. And the season is over and I'm ready to bail, basically. Not that quitting on the season, but I have come to accept that this season is a wash, and that as good as Dame is, it's not going to work out. The season's over. They're heading the other way, and I'm kind of bracing for them at some point to pull the plug and truly tank and lose games on purpose again, and I'm bummed about it, and it's making me not want to go to games. It's making me just not I don't want to go to the arena anymore. I don't want to watch this team. I don't want to pay money to watch this team. I'm bummed. And I sent Michael an email back, and if you email me lockedonblazerspod@gmail.com, I'll email you back something like 8.5 times out of 10. I said, this Blazers season has been pretty trying, and it's frustrating, and it's really tough to watch Damian Lillard play the best basketball of his career, and the team kind of just float on and say, don't worry, in the summertime, we're going to make a big trade and get good. That's frustrating as a fan. Maybe you can find your hope and find your, keep your belief that way, but that's frustrating, right? The seasons are long. Damian Lillard's been so special to see them be the 10th best team in the West or whatever they are. To see them scuffle and be a play-in level team, and with how special their franchise icon has been, it's like, that stinks. And so I said to Michael, though, go to the game. Go see Damian Lillard, because you won't always be able to do that, and you'll what you shouldn't take for granted how special this is. You got to go to the game. But I just meant any games. Like, just go to some games. Go to some games down the stretch. Like, they're going to play more home games. Go buy some tickets, right? They play a couple games the rest of the week, and then more in March and April. And here we are in the final 6 weeks of the season. But like, yeah, go. Don't let Jade ruin your opportunity. Michael sends me an email at halftime of the game. Said, "You helped me find my joy. My wife convinced me to find it too. And I'm in the arena, and Damian Lillard has 41. He's going to score 70. Michael sent me that email at halftime. Damian Lillard scored 30 points in the second half. He finished with 71. And faith was rewarded. There's not a better story. I love what sports can do for us, because they can also just beat us up. These are strangers we don't know wearing costumes we enjoy. This is our favorite type of laundry. People we'll never meet, or meet in passing to take a photo. Maybe if we're lucky, they'll dap up our young children. But when they play poorly, they can ruin your week. They can ruin your week. They can ruin months. They can hurt your feelings. But that's why you hold on to your joy, because most teams lose, and because life is hard. So you buy the tickets, you keep the faith, and you see history. I don't know how this Blazers season is going to go. I think they've been kind of mediocre for long enough to think that they'll probably end up mediocre when the season ends. But I know this: every single opportunity to watch someone as good as Dame should be cherished, appreciated, and, quite frankly, perhaps actively pursued. Because there are nights like this that remind you of why it's so special. The teams you love with the laundry you enjoy, they don't hurt your feelings. They lift you up. They make you feel special again. So even if part of you says, okay, they're 29-31. That was an incredible night, but they got to do it 22 more times, blah, 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 blah. I implore you to take the lesson that Michael did, and from within 24 hours of, I think I'm out on this team for the rest of the year, they're crushing me, it's not fun, to, you know what, I'm going to keep the faith, I'm going to hold on to my joy, I'm going to give it another shot, to being rewarded with history in person. And, you might not live in a place where you can go to the Blazer games. You might not have the, financial situation where you can just decide to go to games. So I'm not telling you to go to the arena. What I'm telling you is cherish these moments, because you got to hold on tightly to the joyful moments. And when Damian Lillard is this special, hold on tightly to it. Don't take it for granted. Go appreciate it however you are able to appreciate it. It's truly one of my favorite fan stories of the year. From out on this team to in the arena for history, sending an email like, he's doing it, dog. So, Michael, I'm happy for you. I'm happy for your wife. I'm happy for all Blazer fans that got to enjoy how special Dame is. And him to state very loudly, the run starts now. The next test, keep on doing it. They got big games this week if their dreams are going to come true. Golden State and New Orleans back-to-back, and then they head out on a road trip. It's time. Dame knows it. He's playing like it. Come on and enjoy the ride with him. And trust him. Put a little faith in him. Your faith could be rewarded, and then you'll have a joyous moment to cling on to hold tightly to for a little while. That's going to do it for today's show. Come back for more shows later this week. We will keep on keeping on. I appreciate you listening. I'll talk to you soon.